Have you ever heard the term smoking hot barbecue sauce? Well, now apparently because of that, one restaurant chain is paying out almost $3 million. So, what are we talking about? A San Antonio restaurant barbecue chain called Bill Miller's Barbecues is now forking out $2.9 million in damages to a 19-year-old girl who suffered second-degree burns after spilling barbecue sauce at a dangerously hot level on her thigh.
Holy
Okay?
cow.
Wow. So, what happened is a Bexar County jury reached the verdict saying that the restaurant's gross negligence was the cause of damage and awarded the victim $900,000 to pay for her mental and physical pain, medical care, lost earnings, and another $1.8 million in punitive damages. Now, the
God.
way the story goes is that in May of 2023, a lady and her sister were grabbing breakfast tacos at the drive-thru on their way to school and decided to eat them in their car while they were parked in the restaurant's car lot. Okay? The barbecue sauce was so hot that when she dropped the container, the sauce seeped through her ripped jeans, causing burns. In her complaint, she said she was never warned that the condiment was 189 degrees, which is way above the 165-degree temperature that the sauce is supposed to maintain, and was never mentioned as dangerously hot. She claims it was also in a container that was not adequate enough to hold a super hot condiment, and that during the trial, the injury caused the teenager to miss both school and work and led to depression. So, the lady told jurors that another woman burned her abdomen with barbecue sauce at the exact same at Bill Miller's location. And since those two incidences, the company has never changed their policy, has never done anything as far as new safety measures to keep this from happening again. Wow. Okay,
That's crazy.
189 degrees. The point of boiling is 212. Okay? That's some freaking hot barbecue sauce.
So 165 degrees isn't what you have to maintain any food for safety. First of all, safety point is 135. So if you cook something, you have to cook it at 165, but you have to maintain the temperature above 135. So sitting at 189 degrees is one, obviously unsafe, hence the burn, but completely unnecessary. And then to serve it in a container that's inadequate to hold it, like I think they said it was like a 4 ounce plastic container. Like that'd be like serving a cup of coffee in a plastic cup. Like, why would you do that? None of that
Well,
makes
I was thinking the
sense.
same thing. Like coffee, is served at pretty high temperatures and it's in like a styrofoam container. And this was
Yeah.
not in like a little styrofoam container. This was like just a little plastic container. And I can
Yeah, they're
imagine she picked it up and
specific.
was like, oh, it's hot. And the top fell off.
Well, if she
So
spilled
I
it
can,
on her jeans, like it's going through your clothes at that point. You can't wipe it off. You can't rinse it off. It's
no.
there.
And so the part about this that I was just kind of appalled at was that the lawyer for the restaurant, okay,
Mm.
had some kind of snarky comments here because they claim that in the 865 days between the two incidences mentioned, the chain doled out more than 2.2 million ounces of barbecue sauce with no other complaints. Okay, and that's why they didn't change their safety standards. The restaurant also mentioned that they offered this lady a check for her medical bills, offered to clean her car, compensate her for any lost salary, but that she declined the gesture. And then, as kind of like the ultimate snide, they also stated that the woman only had to go to the doctor one time. She never had to return for additional care, and that she didn't even lose her job. So they're kind of like, well, this is an extreme case. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I get that 2.9 million is a lot of money for barbecue sauce, but I
If
I
if
feel like this is more. It has less to do with her and more to do with the fact that they are handing out barbecue sauce that's not properly labeled with, oh my God, super hot. They're
Right.
doing it in inadequate packaging. And that at any day, this could happen to somebody else. This could happen to a child.
Yeah. That's the thing. As someone who's had second degree burns, they're really uncomfortable. But if they're treated properly and quickly, then you only need one treatment. If she had third degree
Right.
burns, then yeah, that requires additional treatments. But
But
second
then
degree burns
also,
still hurt.
yeah. And then think about it too. If you've got a burn spot on your
Mhm.
leg, and she was apparently wearing jeans and like, the holes in them and stuff. So it probably went under. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you panic and it's probably spread to a decent area. You can no longer, you know, probably wear pants for a while or had to wear like
Yeah.
loose clothing and you know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
doesn't state like what her job was or you know what I mean? So, but I can
Right.
imagine that, yeah, you would have some depression afterwards. You literally probably felt like your skin was melting off. I mean, I'm sure
It's
that hurt like the dickens.
like, and I kind of think about it like the lady who sued McDonald's for the cup of coffee. Like the amount of instances where like people, so when you have conversations about being like overly litigious, like a lot of times her instance comes up because they sued because the coffee didn't say it was hot. Like it wasn't even necessarily about that. Like it caused her severe damage and it was overly hot. The temperature of the coffee again was, I think it was in the 180s, 190s. No, 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 it was higher.
No, it
Regardless.
was almost boiling.
Yeah, it was stupid hot. So like it comes down to safety practices and like the fact that they weren't going to make any adjustments to their practices after two people had been injured. Like this is something that was completely avoidable. And honestly, I don't even understand why it happened in the first place. That's the part that boggles my mind.
Well, and a lot of these class action lawsuits, they always come back to what a reasonable person could expect.
Yeah.
And so a reasonable person does not go and order, a food with a sauce and that sauce is going to be so hot that if you were to spill it, that it could cause a second degree burn. That is
Yeah.
not what the average person is thinking. And then on top of that, for a restaurant to not even consider that maybe that they are, giving this out at such a high temperature and then to claim because they haven't heard any other complaints. Well, I can tell you that how many times are you maybe, I'm not going to say injured, but harmed in some way by a product, do you immediately pick up the phone and call them?
No.
So I'm just saying they have two known people that contacted them. And I feel like for every one person that contacted them, there was potentially 5, 10 other people that this happened to. Maybe they didn't get a second degree burn, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure this has happened to other people and they just didn't complain about it.
Well, or it didn't make it all the way up the flagpole because there's
Yeah.
sometimes where stuff happens and your shift supervisor will take care of the situation, offer them a gift card, whatever, but it, wasn't so much that it caused damage. So they're like, "Oh, let us take care of your food for today," that kind of thing. So it may
And
not
they're
make
not
it
going to
all the
log
way
that
up.
as a complaint. They're just
Yeah.
going to, it's just a customer service issue.
Yep.
So
Customer satisfaction issue. Yeah.
So even though I do think that $3 million is a lot of money for a second degree burn, but I think it's because the company has shown an unwillingness to modify their practices and to make
Yeah.
sure it didn't happen again. So once again, like you have to think not only how am I handling this situation, but how am I preventing that situation from happening again later?
Yeah, it's avoidable. And maybe it costing them nearly $2.9 million will make them make some adjustments to unsafe practices.
And if you're listening, Bill Miller, maybe check out the little styrofoam containers that say freaking hot on the side.
I mean, those are great. They're insulated. And,
Yeah.
people realize when they get something styrofoam that there's something hot in there.
Yeah. Oh, do better, Bill Miller.